Hello, and welcome all to Movie Hunter, the show that tracks down the quality of all sorts of movies. My name is Hunter, and today in the 54th episode, our target is The Princess Bride, produced by Act 3 Communications and distributed by 20th Century Fox and Interaccess Film Distribution. In 1973, William Goldman published his book titled The Princess Bride, S. Morgenstein's classic tale of true love and high adventure, the good parts version. It was titled so because of the framing device, which depicted William Goldman not as the author, but as someone adapting the book from the fictional S. Morgenstein. The story goes that his father read it to him, and when it came time for him to read it to his son, he came to realize that his father had skipped a lot of political commentary that lied within the book. Thus, Goldman published this book to keep only the quote-unquote good parts. This story is of course entirely fictional, as Goldman did write the novel, but it was a cool framing device. However, the story may not have been as fictional as it would seem, as one Rob Reiner would be gifted the book by his father and become so fascinated with it to the point of wanting to adapt it. Multiple attempts to adapt the book had already been made, but none of them had made it very far. Rob Reiner was able to succeed thanks to the financial support he got from Norman Lear, who Reiner knew from the sitcom All in the Family, which Lear developed and Reiner starred in. A fencing instructor named Bob Anderson and a stunt coordinator named Peter Diamond both worked on the film, who also trained actors in the original Star Wars trilogy. The film released on September 25th, 1987, and made $30.9 million on a budget of $16 million, truly becoming popular after the home video release. It was directed by Rob Reiner, and the screenplay was by William Goldman, who wrote the novel the film was based on. It was produced by Andrew Scheinman and Rob Reiner. The cinematography was by Adrian Biddle, the editor was Robert Layton, and the music was by Mark Knopfler. The cast includes Cary Elwes, Robin Wright, Mandy Patinkin, Andre the Giant, Wallace Shawn, Chris Sarandon, Christopher Guest, Fred Savage, Peter Falk, Billy Crystal, Carol Kane, Mel Smith, Peter Cook, Betsy Brantley, Marjorie Mason, Wilbury Gray, and Malcolm Story. In 2016, the film was selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the United States National Film Registry. The film follows a grandfather visiting his grandson who is sick. He reads him a book titled The Princess Bride, to which the grandson begrudgingly listens to. The story begins in the kingdom of Florin, where there is a woman named Buttercup living on a farm who falls in love with the farmhand Wesley. Wesley sails away, trying to seek his fortune overseas to afford a wedding. However, Buttercup soon gets word back that Wesley's ship was attacked by the dread pirate Roberts, known for not taking prisoners. 5 years later, Buttercup is chosen to be married to the Prince of Florin, Prince Humperdinck, much to her disliking. While on her daily ride with her horse, she is taken captive by 3 men. The leader is a cunning Sicilian named Vizzini. There's a kind giant named Fezzik, and a Spaniard named Inigo, who is skilled with swords. Vicini talks about their plans to kill Buttercup and defame the nearby kingdom of Gilder, thereby starting a war between the two kingdoms. Across the eel-infested waters, the 4 notice another boat is following them. Aboard it is a man with a black mask, who similarly follows them up the cliffs of insanity. Inigo is left behind to defeat the man, with the two talking a bit, and Inigo revealing that he is driven to avenge his father, who was slaughtered by a man with 6 fingers. The duel ends with the man in the mask as the victor, electing to knock out Inigo rather than kill him. He similarly chokes out the giant Fezzik, but ensures his survival. As for Vizzini, he is tricked into drinking poison, believing himself to be a lot more clever than he really is. The man takes Buttercup, with her believing him to be the dread pirate Roberts, only for him to reveal that he is actually Wesley, who assumed the position of Pirate Roberts after he took a liking to Wesley and decided to retire. With Prince Humperdinck and his men on their tail, they cut through the fire swamp and face the three terrors, being the fire spurts, the lightning sand, and the rodents of unusual size. At the end of the fire swamp, they are captured by the prince. Buttercup then agrees to go back with him so long as he agrees to not hurt Wesley and to take him back to his ship. Prince Humperdinck agrees, but secretly has his henchman, Count Rugen, take Wesley to the Pit of Despair to be tortured, with Wesley noticing that he has 6 fingers. Buttercup threatens to kill herself should Prince Humperdinck force her to marry him, so he strikes a deal with her, agreeing to deliver a message to Wesley from Buttercup, but should Wesley decline, she'll have to marry him. Of course, the prince does no such thing, and after talking with Count Rugen, it is revealed to the audience that he hired Vizzini to kill Buttercup and start the war. But now that he's failed, the prince will simply do it himself on their wedding day, framing Gilder for it and enraging the people into starting a war with him. Meanwhile, in the Thieves' Forest, the giant Fezzik finds Inigo, telling him all about what has happened, and most importantly, about the 6-fingered man. With all the guards, they agree that they'll need the help of the masked man, who bested both of them and Vizzini. Buttercup learns that the prince didn't search for Wesley, calling him a coward, leading to him imprisoning her and torturing Wesley to death. Inigo and Fezzik follow Wesley's screams to the Pit of Despair, where they take him to Miracle Max, who is able to revive him. With Wesley still regaining the ability to move, the three sneak into the castle during the wedding. Inigo runs off to kill the 6-fingered man, but is badly injured. However, gaining his strength to avenge his father, he gains the upper hand and kills the man after forcing him onto his knees. Wesley outsmarts Prince Humperdinck into surrendering, and they tie him up. Inigo reunites with Wesley and Buttercup, and the three find Fezzik, who grabbed 4 white horses for them to ride off on. The movie ends with the grandson, now fully invested in the story, requesting that his grandfather read it to him again tomorrow. Let's start things off by talking about the characters, as there are many of them with a pretty good average rate of quality. First, we have Wesley and Buttercup, who I put together to talk about because my feelings on them are rather the same. Romance has never been my favorite genre in movies, and there's nothing here that I found really notable. Luckily, I don't think it's ever bad or anything, but to me it is mostly just a motivation for the characters, which is fine. Wesley and Buttercup themselves, though, I find to be rather lacking in the character department. Wesley can be occasionally funny, and like I mentioned, they serve as a perfectly fine motivation for the film, and a way for the story to get to place, but the characters are fairly far from my favorite characters in the film. Vizzini is next, and he is an absolute delight. He dies pretty early on in the film, which is rather unfortunate, but the comedy brought about by his huge ego makes every second of his limited screen time count. Of course, his repetitive use of the word inconceivable is hilarious, but he's got a bunch of other great lines too. Inigo Montoya is probably the best character in the film, with him being one of the best examples of a side character who feels like a main character. He never overshadows the heart and the core of the film, but his own quest to avenge his father and kill the 6-fingered man is a simple, yet extremely effective one. The fight scene where he defeats Count Rugen is incredibly satisfying and awesome, and with it seeming like Inigo is about to lose, only for him to pull through in the end. His final speech to Rugen is also amazing, just an incredible way to end his story. I also like how after killing Rugen, he offers to kill the prince too. That was pretty funny. Final things, I like his sword duel with Wesley, as well as Wesley eventually passing on the title of the Dread Pirate Roberts to him at the end of the movie. On the opposite side of the coin, we have Fezzik, who lacks a plot to call his own, but is equally as delightful. His kind demeanor, paired with his massive strength, leads to some amazing moments. I also adore his friendship with Inigo, and you can really feel their care for one another in many scenes. I also love how Fezzik is defeated by Wesley. I think that it makes a lot of sense how it happens, and it's always been a detail I thought was neat. Just a really fun character who is an absolute delight and has a lot of really funny lines, especially with Inigo. From there, I don't really have much more to say. Prince Humperdinck is a rather basic villain, with the most notable thing about him being his comedic and absurd name. His motivation is rather lackluster, with his plan to start a war being cool, but why he wants to start the war exactly goes completely unreasoned. However, he does a serviceable job as the villain. Count Rugen falls into a similar camp, whereas he mostly just serves the purpose of getting Inigo and Wesley on the same team, and of course being the one that Inigo seeks vengeance on. The Prince and Rugen do have a couple of funny scenes together though, but that's about it. Finally, we have Miracle Max, who a lot of people seem to like, but I'm rather indifferent to. He's funny enough, don't get me wrong, but he's really only in one scene, and I don't find it to be an especially memorable one, but still, he's a net positive for the film. Overall, the characters are a very good part of the film. A lot of them really breathe life into the story and make the film extremely memorable. Next, I'd like to talk about the setting a bit, as I think it is a very important part of the film's identity. Firstly, I really like the setting of the grandfather reading the book to his grandson. I haven't read the book the film was based on, but the idea seems very similar to what happens in that original book. The grandfather and grandson are also very charming characters, with the grandson's occasional interruptions seeming like something that could have been annoying, but to me at least, I didn't find distracting at all. The grandfather has a lot of funny dialogue with the grandson, and the grandson has a fun little character arc where he slowly starts to really enjoy the story in a way that is paced extremely well. Another thing that really helps sell the story are the various locations. From the eel-infested waters and the cliffs of insanity to the fire swamp and its three terrors, each location is really fun and gives the movie a bit of new life as we go to each one. Even the ones without names just look really cool and make for nice set pieces. The eels in the eel-infested waters and the rodents of unusual size is also something I wanted to point out as looking really good due to the use of what I assume is puppetry. I think another thing that's worth mentioning is just how much like a story it feels like. I don't know if it was because it was based on a book, or if it was the framing device, or maybe something else that the movie does, but the film really just feels like an adventure or a story. It is without a doubt one of the best aspects of the film, and something that just makes the film really charming. A final thing worth noting is just how iconic the film is. So many of its lines are endlessly quotable, such as, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die," or Vizzini's simple "Inconceivable." Things like that just make the film a joy to watch. I give The Princess Bride a 9 out of 10 for just being one of those films that thrives in its simplicity. The characters are all good, with some being truly exceptional. The framing device is well used, the setting is extremely effective, and the film is just iconic all around. If you haven't seen The Princess Bride, I can highly recommend it. Or if it's just been a while since you've seen it, I can assure you that it holds up inconceivably well. Well, that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to share any opinions you had on the movie. A new episode releases each week, so stay tuned to see which film I cover next. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.